If you're a beginner sports bettor, you're probably wondering, what is the best way to make money betting on sports? How can I be a profitable sports bettor? Well, that is exactly what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to teach you what are the best sports betting strategies. So at the end of this video, you will have learned 3 different strategies on how to make money betting on sports. As for me, my name is Matt Modi. I'm a content creator and betting analyst for OddsJam.com. Would really appreciate it for those of you watching this if you could like and comment on the video. Let me know your feedback, good or bad. And then, of course, if you want to find me on social media, you can at my Twitter handle, Jedi Modi, you see on the screen here. A link to it is also in the description of the video as well. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about the best sports betting strategies, talking about 3 specifically: arbitrage, middle betting, and positive expected value. We can get right into it. I have prepared this extremely complex slideshow to show you the different strategies. Number 1, let's talk about arbitrage. So when you are arbitrage betting, you are literally making risk-free money. Now, I know that's going to sound like a scam, or you're going to believe there's some sort of catch, but that's not true. You are literally making risk-free money when you are arbitrage betting. There is zero scenario, zero chance of you losing money with arbitrage. The way it works is you bet both sides of an outcome to guarantee that profit. So you're betting both sides of the same exact outcome, an over and an under, right? Both teams to cover the spread, both teams money line. And you're probably wondering, okay, well, how does this even make sense? Why does this exist? It's a market discrepancy, right? It's when 2 sportsbooks are so misaligned in where they're pricing odds that you can literally place a bet on both of them on opposite sides and guarantee profit. I have an example on the screen here between 2 sportsbooks, Play Maverick and FanDuel, but you need to understand when it comes to sports betting, sportsbooks all have a different method, a different process of pricing odds. Majority of them, it's just based on supply and demand, right? How much money is coming in on a certain market. But because sportsbooks price odds independently, individually, a situation like this can occur where there's such a wide gap, such a wide discrepancy between where 2 sportsbooks have odds priced that, like I said, you can literally place a bet on opposite sides on each sportsbook and profit. So I mentioned the example on the screen here. It is a assists market. It's a player prop market, again, between PlayUp and FanDuel. So on one side, you are betting the over 3.5 on Play Maverick, and the prop, again, is player assists for Jalen Green. You're betting the over 3.5 on Play Maverick at plus 160 odds, and you are betting the under 3.5 assists on FanDuel at minus 136 odds. So right off the bat, there's no scenario in which one of these bets does not win, right? Because we are choosing a 3.5 number. He's either going to be 4 and above, or he's going to be 3 and below. Regardless, one of these bets is winning. And because the way the odds shake out, we can bet both sides and guarantee profit. And it's listed exactly on the calculator here, also listed in the slideshow as well. So what you're going to be doing is risking $100 on the over 3.5 at plus 160 odds. So if this bet hits, right, if he goes 4 or more, you get a total payout of $260, right? If he goes over 3.5 assists, 4 or more. And then what you're going to do is risk roughly 150 on the opposite side for Jalen Green to go under 3.5 assists. And if that bet hits, you also get a payout of $260. So if you look at the total view of what is happening here, you are risking, and when I say risk, I just mean the amount of money placed on the actual bet itself. There's no actual risk. There's no real risk in this. It's just the terminology of when you are placing a bet for $100, that means your risk is $100. It's listed here under stake. That's another way, another term you can use for it. But essentially you are staking roughly $250 to have a guaranteed payout of $260. So you get a guaranteed profit of roughly $10. There is literally no scenario in which you are not making this $10 from this arbitrage opportunity. So arbitrage is a great way to make risk-free money. In this case, the profit margin was roughly 3.91%. Now, you're not always going to find ARBs that are just below 4%. My personal strategy when it comes to arbitrage is to place anything that is 1% and above. So when you are using OddsJam, the OddsJam arbitrage page will literally tell you what percent of your profit margin will be on a specific arbitrage bet. And I recommend taking anything, again, 1% and above. It's literally a risk-free way to make money. So for people that have smaller bankrolls, I recommend them start off arbitrage betting because they're not going to lose money, and then they can use those profits to slowly build up their bankroll, and they can start doing other types of strategies like positive expected value. And this is what it looks like on the OddsJam page, right? This is a screenshot taken directly from the OddsJam arbitrage page. So on the far left here, we see 3.91%. The bet is today at 6 p.m. The game is between the Nuggets Rockets. The player market is player assists, and then the play itself, Jalen Green over 3.5 and under 3.5. This screenshot, like I said, taken directly from the OddsJam arbitrage page. So when you are arbitrage betting, as I mentioned, you are looking for plays that are 1% and above in terms of this percent here. That means your profit margin is 1% and above. But that's how arbitrage works. It's risk-free money, guaranteed to make profit of whatever the profit margin is. Next strategy that I'm going to be talking about is middle betting. So when you are middle betting, you're still placing a bet on both sides, but there's a possibility that neither of your bets are going to lose. So that's what middle betting is. So if I move my camera, you see possibly not lose one side. So again, you're still placing a bet on both sides, but there's a chance that actually neither of your bets win. There's a chance that one bet pushes and one bet wins and no bet loses. And here is an example of what a middle bet looks like. So in this case, it's the Lakers versus Grizzlies game. We are betting on the third quarter total points. On one side, we are betting on the over 59.5. And on the other side, we are betting on the under 60. So there's no scenario right off the bat that both of these bets lose, right? If it lands at 59 or below, your under 60 will hit. And if it lands at 61 and above, your over 59 will hit. There's also no scenario, based on how the odds shake out, that you are losing money. So the whole process of middle betting is if the total lands on exactly 60 points are scored, you win your over 59.5 bet and you profit $110, right? You risk $100, you stake $100 on the over 59.5 at plus 110 odds. If that bet wins, you get a payout of $210. If the total lands, again, at exactly 60 points are scored in the third quarter, your under 60 will push, so you will get this refund of $110. So you will have profited $110 if the total lands at exactly 60. So let's pretend any other scenario happens. It doesn't land at 60. It lands at either 61 or above, or it lands at 59 or below. Well, no matter what happens, you will be breaking even. You are not risking any chance of losing money in this outcome. So let's pretend, okay, 61 points are scored in the third quarter. That's frustrating. You are so close to winning your middle bet. So here's what happens. You will have risked $100 at plus 110 odds. So you'll get a total payout of $210 or a total profit of $110. Well, this bet wins, so you'll get your profit of $110. And on the other side, your under 60 bet will have lost with your initial stake of $110. So you will net neutral. You will break even. You will have profited $110 on the over 59.5. You will have lost $110 on the under 60. Total profit, total payout of $0. Same exact thing if 59 or fewer points are scored. If that happens, you will have risked $110 to profit $100. So you will get a total payout of $210, 100 profit. This bet wins, the over 59.5 loses. So you lose your stake of $100 and you still break even. So when you're middle betting, your percent chance of profiting is lower than arbitrage, right? In no way is it guaranteed, but your potential profit is significantly higher. You're only going to make, regardless of what happens, roughly 3.91%, in this case, $10. But if you're middle betting, you have a potential profit of $110 with a literally zero risk. There is no scenario in which you lose money. So you're essentially risking nothing to potentially profit $110. In the off chance that it does land on 60, well, then it's perfect. Then you profit your $110. So middle betting is when you place a bet on both sides and there's a possibility that you do not lose either side of your bet. One bet pushes, one bet wins. And sometimes there's even a scenario where you could win both bets. Like pretend the other side of this bet is under 60.5 and the total lands at exactly 60, then you will have won both of your bets. Now that scenario is exceptionally rare. It does exist, but the more often types of middle bets you see is this exact scenario here where one pushes and one wins. So that's middle betting. You're still betting on both sides of the same outcome, but in this case, instead of guaranteeing profit, you're at a minimum guaranteeing that you break even with the possibility of winning both sides. Now, the last strategy that I want to talk about is positive expected value betting. So no longer are you placing a bet on both sides when you're positive EV betting. You're placing a bet on one side, but that one side is mathematically profitable. Now, I have an example on the next slide, so I will walk you through it. But essentially, the way positive expected value betting works is OddsJam pulls odds from the sharp sportsbooks. And when I say sharp sportsbooks, I mean the sportsbooks that consistently do the best job at pricing odds. Two examples of these are BetOnline and Pinnacle. Now, there are more than just these two, and I'll get into how OddsJam calculates what sportsbooks are considered sharp. But OddsJam pulls lines from the sharpest sportsbooks in the world and then essentially provides betting opportunities where you can bet on an outlier to those sharp sportsbooks. And here's an example of exactly what it looks like. So this is a positive expected value play. The percent here on the far left is your percent edge over the sportsbook, can also be viewed percent of expected value. I'll explain how this is calculated in a little bit. But the actual play itself, so the play is in Miami, Ohio versus Western Michigan. It gives you a total points market, in this case, saying that it's total points. And then what is highlighted here in bolded is the actual positive expected value bet itself. You're betting on the over 147 at minus 110 odds at bet 365. But the most important thing is these odds you see on the far right here. We see this minus 115.76. So these are under the category of the no vig odds. Now, when you're looking at the positive expected value page, there are always going to be odds here for the no vig odds. And this is where the sharp sportsbooks come into play. So what happens is, I mentioned back in the arbitrage section, right, that there are market discrepancies that exist, that sportsbooks price odds individually. Like we see a huge difference in where odds are priced on this individual play. So because of the fact that sportsbooks price odds individually in their own way, well, there are some sportsbooks that consistently are better than others at pricing odds. Those are considered the sharp sportsbooks. So it's just like the stock market, right? There are reputable stock exchanges that you trust to accurately reflect the market. And then there are other ones that aren't quite as good. It's the same thing with sports betting. So what OddsJam did was backtest thousands and thousands and thousands of previous betting opportunities and let the data tell them what sportsbooks are consistently the best at pricing odds. So they don't come to these no vig odds anecdotally, just like, oh, you know what? I read somewhere that this sportsbook is the sharpest. I heard from a friend whose buddy's cousin's uncle told him that these sportsbooks are the sharpest. No, they let the data tell them that. And then they pull all of this data together and then say, okay, looks like these, let's call it 5 sportsbooks, consistently do the best job at pricing odds. So what OddsJam does is they remove the VIG, which is just the juice that sportsbooks price odds. It's how they make their money. They charge almost like a tax. So OddsJam removes that to get the true line of what these sportsbooks are pricing markets at, and then takes a weighted average from all of those sportsbooks and spits out these no vig odds right here. So when you're looking at the positive expected value page, you can almost view the no vig odds, not almost, you can view the no vig odds as the perfect line of what a market should be priced at, the most accurate representation of a market. And then OddsJam is constantly scanning odds from every major sportsbook, trying to provide betting opportunities where you can get better odds than the no vig line on another sportsbook. So in this specific example on the screen here, the OddsJam perfect line prices this play at minus 115.76. Bet365 is offering it at minus 110. And because there is a gap between these two numbers, that is where your profitability comes from. This is your edge. And the bigger the gap between these two numbers, the higher this percent is going to be, to go back to the expected value percent. This is a percent based on a formula that is calculated based on the difference between these two numbers, based on the no vig odds, and then comparing that to the odds of the bet we are placing. And then if you look at the screenshot here of where the sharp sportsbooks price this play, Bet Online, all the way up at minus 127. Pinnacle, all the way up at minus 133. So you can kind of check your own work and click into each and every positive expected value play to make sure that the bet you're placing is an outlier to these sharp sportsbooks, right? Bet Online and Pinnacle consistently do a better job than the average sportsbook at pricing odds. And they are telling us, they're telling the market that they think the total going over 147 is exceedingly likely. So they're making that more expensive to buy, but Bet365 doesn't represent that same value. So it's a sportsbook that we should take advantage of. And that's how positive expected value betting works. You're betting on one side that is mathematically profitable, that is compared to odds of the sharp sportsbooks, Bet Online, Pinnacle, and then provides betting opportunities where you can bet on an outlier to those sharp sportsbooks. So that's positive expected value betting. The next step for you, just to profit. We've learned arbitrage, where it's a guaranteed risk-free way of making money. You bet both sides of the same outcome, guaranteed profit. You've learned middle betting, which is not a guarantee to profit, but if you do profit, your profit margins are much higher and there's no scenario in which you lose money. That is middle betting. And then positive expected value betting is when you're placing just a bet on one side. So no longer are you placing a bet on both sides, you're placing it on one, but that bet has a mathematically calculated edge. So the one thing to note about positive expected value betting compared to the other two is there is some variance involved. Because you're only betting on one side, you could just have bad luck and place a really good bet, but because sports are unpredictable, that bet loses. Now you will be in the green, you'll be profiting more often than not, but you have to accept some down days, some down weeks, even a possible down month. Now, again, it will be green more often than not. It just won't be like a straight line going up. You know what I mean? That's not how positive expected value betting works. But those are the best sports betting strategies. So hopefully this video made sense. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. You can hit me up in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter. And that's it. So please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a good one.